Hi, I'm Hudson and welcome back to Tech with Hudson. In this video, I'm going to be telling you which filament you should use for your 3D printer. For starters, let's start with PLA. PLA, also known as polylactic acid, is one of the most popular 3D printing materials ever. Right now, I'm using Polymaker Polylite PLA in the 2.85mm diameter for my Lulzbot TAD 6, and it has been one of my favorite materials, period. Like, ever. The ease of use is just so easy, and it's just been so incredibly simple to use this filament. There's also other forms of PLA, for example, like this Polymaker Polythera PLA. If you've noticed, Polymaker is one of my favorite filament brands ever. This Polythera PLA is made with 100% recyclable materials, and even the spool is not made out of plastic. As you can see, it's made out of like this cardboard material. Plus, it comes in tons of different colors, but I only have 3 with me. The green, the red, and the yellow. I believe the yellow is called banana yellow or something. But I don't know, I like this filament a lot. And it gives you this kind of texture on your prints where it's not like the layer lines are invisible, but in certain lighting conditions it's invisible. And I don't know, I just found it to be like a really, really nice texture, and I liked it a lot. Next up, we have PLA that is made by 3D printer companies themselves. There are some 3D printer companies that have their own filament brands, for example, like Prusa with Filament, and let me think, there's FlashForge, and I'm pretty sure they make their own line of filament. But right now I have a spool of Creality PLA 1.75mm. And honestly, this filament is not bad whatsoever. Like, I was able to get some very nice, smooth prints out of this, and I wasn't even using a Creality machine. This works with any 1.75mm machine. And it was just very, very nice for the quality of the print and the settings I used for this filament. I can share my profiles down in the description for the filaments if you want. But I don't know if you'll need them. They're usually built into most softwares like Cura, and for example. But yeah, filament made by filament companies. I know, let me think. I know like the stock filament that comes with like the Creality Ender 3, for example. That stuff is disgusting. It's not good. I would not recommend it from my experience. But the Creality spools of filament, I find them very, very nice. But the sample filaments that they have, I don't like at all. Next, we have wood filament. I love wood filament. It is one of my favorite filaments ever. It just is incredible. The texture, the material, and it's like you're printing with real wood, even though you're technically not. Here I have some Polymaker Polywood PLA, and here I believe this is 3D Warhorse. I've only had their wood filament, but from what I've had, it's not a bad wood filament. Oops. The only thing I don't like about wood filament is that it snaps very, very easily. Like this, literally, I was just picking this up and this snapped off. Yeah, it's, and like this, well, obviously now it won't snap, but it snaps very, very easily. I also have had a lot of experience printing flexible materials, and honestly, I have ran out of all Ninja Flex that I've been using, but besides that, since I don't have any here, but it is incredible. Make sure that you have the right printer settings. A stock Creality machine, like the Ender 3, Ender 5 series, maybe even Ender 6, those will not print flexible filaments very well. I had an Ender 5 Plus stock. I even switched out with a metal extruder, and I believe an all-metal hot end, and it wouldn't print. But then when I changed it over to my FlashForge Creator Max 2 with a direct drive extruder, it printed perfectly. It was incredible. And then also with the direct drive extruder on my Lulzbot TAD 6, that printed incredibly. Next up, we have ABS. ABS filament, I'm going to be completely honest right here, I don't like ABS. It's not the best in my opinion. For beginners, definitely don't use ABS unless you are fairly experienced with 3D printing. and you have an enclosure, it smells. It warps unless you have an enclosure, but honestly, even if you do have an enclosure like I have, it still will warp occasionally. But honestly, I wouldn't use ABS if you're just starting. It's not my favorite whatsoever. Lastly, we have PETG, or PETG as some people will call it. It's right down here, this blue filament, which I don't want to take up the whole stack to pull it out. But PETG, I think that's Joseph Prusa's favorite filament, but I'm not 100% sure. I remember him saying that in an interview once. Or like it's Prusa's favorite filament, something like that. But PETG is an incredible material if you know how to use it. It's kind of weird in my opinion. It's like a rip-off of ABS without the warping, without the enclosure. I mean, occasionally for me it will warp, but that's probably just because of my settings, honestly. I need to get a better profile for PETG. But, I don't know. If you want my overall opinion, I would do, if you're a beginner, PLA, and if you're advanced, and it depends on what you're doing. PETG also tends to be a bit stronger, but I still would use PLA, to be completely honest. Oh yeah, and one last thing about ABS. I would never use ABS to print and place parts, and that's just my personal opinion on that. I've had some very bad experiences with ABS and print and place, but it really depends on your settings, on if you have an enclosure or not, and if your printer is capable of printing ABS without it warping. And, I mean, for print and place, I mostly use PLA, sometimes PETG, but I don't know, I would recommend PLA for print and place. Okay, that's all. Ow, this hurts. That's all I have for today's video. If you liked the video, please like the video. If you didn't like the video, please dislike the video. And subscribe if you haven't already. Bye!